Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a busy show in store for you today because we have a lot of updates, not just on the Trump administration, not just on Elon Musk, but also on issues in Albany, as well as yesterday was the mayoral debate. We aren't going to focus too much on the mayoral debate because that, of course, is New York City, but because our former governor is participating, there are a few takeaways worth mentioning. First, let's get to some breaking news from last night and early this morning. Israel says it has recovered the bodies of U.S.-Israeli couple Judy Weinstein and Gadi Hagay, who had ties to New York. They recovered the bodies from the Gaza Strip. The couple were abducted by Hamas during the October 7th, 2023 attack. They have been recovered over a year after they were confirmed to be killed in captivity. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the remains of Judy Weinstein, who was 70, and Gadi Hagay, 73, were recovered during a special operation conducted by Israel's Internal Security Agency and the IDF troops in the Gaza Strip. Tweeting out late yesterday, together with all the citizens of Israel, my wife and I extend our heartfelt condolences to the dear families. Our hearts ache for the most terrible loss. May their memory be blessed. The heart grieves for the most terrible loss. May their memories be blessed. He thanked the fighters and commanders for the successful execution of bringing their bodies home and vowed to not rest or be silent until we bring all our captives home, the living and the dead alike. Now, the couple's family said of the return that it is painful and heartbreaking, yet it also brings healing to our uncertainty. Their return reminds us that this is the state's duty to bring everyone home so that we, the families, together with all the people of Israel, can begin the process of healing and recovery. The families pleaded with decision makers to do everything necessary to reach an agreement that will return all 56 remaining hostages, the living for rehabilitation and the murdered for burial. There is no need to wait another 608 agonizing days for this. The mission can be completed as early as tomorrow morning. This is what the majority of the Israeli people want, they wrote. We emphasize today a grave is not a privilege. A grave is a basic human right without which personal and national recovery is impossible. So that is breaking from last night. We do have some updates in general about some topics that we've discussed. Oh, we have a couple of big local stories as well that we're going to get to. Another, this isn't a breaking story, and we do have a lot from last night with Trump signing some proclamations and the like, the kind of typical Trump news cycle that we're going to get to in a moment. But I wanted to mention this because I believe we may have touched on it quickly. But this is a major update in this story. The family of a North Carolina high school student, because we talk about what's happening on college campuses, but we've emphasized numerous times that it's not starting at college campuses, the radicalization. It's starting much younger. And in this instance, it was in high school, where a North Carolina student was suspended last year for saying illegal alien in his English class. So he said illegal alien, and he was suspended. While the high school has dropped, he, the student, has dropped the lawsuit. Christian McGee, 17 years old, dropped the lawsuit against the district in exchange for a deal which saw him receive a public apology from the school and $20,000. Now, this is an important message that this kind of radicalization of young people needs to be confronted head on, just like we're seeing the Trump administration do at the university level, which we have numerous examples of this morning that we're going to kind of breeze through. but they all tie in together. So again, Christian McGee received a 3-day suspension for using the phrase illegal alien while discussing word meanings during his English class at Central Davidson High School in Lexington. This was back in April of 2024. McGee's mother, Lee, had filed a lawsuit in which she accused the school and the Davidson County Board of Education of violating her son's First Amendment right. I also think it's interesting you have a class where they're teaching the meanings of words, and then you say a term that is commonly used. You could maybe say did fall out of fashion for a while, but is being used by some elected leaders, those in the media. But the family settled with the school board after a year-long battle in the courts. So you think of the cost there. The board has agreed to remove all references to racial bias in McGee's school record. So that was going to be in his permanent record, that there was some type of racial bias because he used the term illegal alien. And they issued a public apology, quote, for the mischaracterization of racial bias in his record. The board will also provide him with $20,000 in compensation to help his family with the cost of tuition at his new private school, which he was forced to transfer to after being suspended. So he transfers to a public school. And again, on his permanent record, they wanted to put a reference to racial bias. McGee's lawyer said on Friday, we filed a motion asking the court to approve a settlement that would resolve this matter. Because Christian is a minor, a court hearing is required before the settlement can become final. We'll have more to say after the hearing, which is currently scheduled for July 1st. We're pleased to take this important step towards clearing our client's name. When the incident occurred, a teacher gave the teen an assignment that used the word alien, and he asked, like space aliens or illegal aliens without a green card? That was his question, and that is why on his permanent record it was going to say there was some racial bias in his background. So she asked specifically for him to use the word alien, and his question, a fair question, like space aliens or illegal aliens without a green card. A Hispanic student in McGee's class reportedly joked that he was going to, we'll say, beat up Christian. So the teacher escalated the matter to Central Davidson's assistant principal, Eric Anderson, where they've deemed the words offensive and disrespectful to his classmate, and that got him suspended. Now, the reason this is also interesting, because you see him being suspended, and yet how many times have we reported on the anti-Semitism on college campuses and the students there, in those instances, intimidating, threatening the Jewish community on campus, not even really receiving a slap on the wrist. We have an example that hopefully we could get to later on, where at one university they said there's nothing. I guess I could probably jump to it if I can find it quick enough. But there's nothing they can do about the anti-Semitism because the people were. It was dark outside and the people were wearing masks. So they're making excuses now, looking for ways to protect, just like at Harvard, protect the anti-Semitic protest. But this is not anti-Semitic. This was, again, asking a question of his teacher when the teacher assigned him the word alien, asking if the teacher meant space aliens or, quote, illegal aliens without green cards. So according to the suspension, again, Anderson declared that his comment was racially motivated. Anderson was also named as a defendant in the lawsuit in his individual capacity. McGee told the Carolina Journal last year, that's the student, I didn't make a statement directed towards anyone. I asked a question. I wasn't speaking of Hispanics because everyone from other countries needs green cards. And the term illegal alien is an actual term that I hear on the news and can find in the dictionary. I believe, isn't it also currently, as it's stated, in official government documents? At one point it was. It may have been changed. But of course, as is typical in the education system, when they went to appeal the suspension, the school administrators refused to budge. Because remember, they've lived in a bubble, an academic bubble their whole life. So who are you to tell them what they can and cannot do? Ironically, in this scenario. So they refuse to budge. They take that, kind of what you think of as a stereotypical teacher that you wouldn't have wanted assigned to you at the beginning of a school year. That's when they forced his family's hands and they got a lawyer involved. Oh yeah, here we go. This confirms what I said. It's a term used as federal code, and it is a term that is heard frequently on many news broadcasts. I feel that this was handled properly in the classroom. If it was handled properly in the classroom, it could have easily been used as a teachable moment for everyone. While the school district and the teen's family have settled, all involved have agreed that the school suspension will remain on McGee's record because there was a class disruption caused by the comment. The board agreed that the settlement is fair, reasonable, and in the best interest of Christian. So they still had to get their little dig in there, make sure that the suspension was still marked on there, doubling down, but it costs the taxpayers in North Carolina $20,000. And luckily, they were forced to apologize. But as I said, very often, and I wanted to mention this, that was at a high school, but at Princeton, protesters at an event at Princeton featuring former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Some of the protesters called Jewish students, and these are horrible terms. You know what? I'm not even going to read them. But many slurs as they disrupted the guest's address. But the school says no student will, quote, be disciplined for their premeditated disruption and blatant anti-Semitism. Why? Well, they can't ID those students, quote, can't ID the students who were shouting anti-Semitic slurs since, quote, it was dark and they were wearing masks. So the message is clear. And this is why we wanted to see a stronger ban on masks in New York. Governor Hochul is taking a victory lap on that, but shouldn't be, for lack of a better term, should not be, because there is no real teeth to that ban. We wanted to see actual banning of face masks. But the message, again, clear, according to Danielle Shapiro at Real Clear Politics: wear a mask and you can abuse Jews on campus. Princeton's president constantly talks about Princeton's free speech rules, and yet when tested, the university will not enforce them. If Princeton won't take basic steps to protect its student, then the Department of Education must. Yes, no punishment because they were wearing masks and it was dark. Sending a message to these continued anti-Semitic protesters that as long as you wear a mask, you're going to get away with it. There is a lot of other updates on the anti-Semitism on college campuses. We do have quite a few local, regional, as well as statewide updates as well. But we better take our first break before we run too late. No. I could do this all morning. It's going to be one of those kind of mornings. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Hey, this is John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service. Licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down. Do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams and Identifying Elder Abuse, Monday, June 9th at the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and learn fraud watch tips. Come to the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 9th. Learn more. Go to steubencountyny.gov/235.
If you have one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio, and it is time for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments. If you are new to the program, you can see that number on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to reach out with any of your questions, comments, concerns, or criticisms. First up, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. A father in Washington State is accused of murdering his 3 daughters, and he is still missing. It's a horrific story, Mark. I saw that in the news. He is still missing. He has a military background. The 3 children found murdered next to the father's vehicle. Just a heartbreaking story, and yes, he is still missing. Comment from Ken: just another example of the academic left working to train the youth of the country on staying in line with their ideology. It's the carrot and the stick approach. Say and think the way we want you to, and you will be rewarded. Say and think a different way, and you will be punished. This is all they know, because it's the way they were trained. So it's the way they train others. Yes, it's that academic bubble. It's that the problem with having never left academia, from almost cradle, when you think of pre-K, to retirement. I would agree wholeheartedly, Ken. It's one of the big problems that we're facing as a nation. That's why there is a rise in not just anti-Semitism, but radicalization in general. This goes back for years. We're going to talk a little bit about it, as a matter of fact, in just a little bit. But first, a couple other breaking stories from late yesterday. Trump signed a proclamation barring foreign nationals from 12 nations from entering the United States. I'm going to try. Boy, this is going to be tough. I've determined to fully restrict and limit the entry of nationals of the following 12 countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Additionally, the Trump administration will partially restrict and limit the entry of nationals from 7 other countries: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. And I apologize to anyone watching this program if I have mispronounced perhaps your ancestral land. These restrictions distinguish between, but apply to both the entry of immigrants and non-immigrants, read the proclamation. Trump cited Sunday's anti-Semitic firebombing attack in Boulder, Colorado, as part of the reason for the crackdown, saying on Truth Social, the recent terror attack in Boulder, which we have an update on, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them, he said. The travel ban follows the January 20th executive order protecting the United States from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. Okay. Now, also, Trump has banned international students from studying at Harvard in his latest bombshell proclamation aimed at the Ivy League institution. The new measure suspends entry of new visa holders seeking to attend the elite institution and its student exchange visitor program, with the president citing concerns over national security, crime rates, and discrimination. Trump, who has accused Harvard of treating the U.S. with great disrespect, argued that the university is no longer a trustworthy steward of international student and exchange visitor program. When a university refuses to uphold its legal obligations, including its record-keeping and reporting obligations, the consequences ripple far beyond the campus, read the proclamation, noting that it is of national interest to deny foreign nationals access to Harvard. They jeopardize the integrity of the entire United States student and exchange visitor visa system. compromise national security, and embolden other institutions to similarly disregard the rule of law. The order also directs Secretary of State Marco Rubio to assess whether the nearly 7,000 students from foreign countries enrolled at Harvard who hold F1, M1, or J1 visas should be booted from the country ahead of the 2025-2026 school year. No other universities were included in the proclamation. Also, yes, we could do this all morning, I think. One story after another. This is Trump's foe, Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg has liked the name he has made for himself by going after the President of the United States for feeling that he has more power than the man duly elected by the American citizens. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg ordered the Trump administration to provide all non-citizens deported from the U.S. to a maximum security prison in El Salvador to be afforded the opportunity to seek habeas relief in court and challenge their alleged gang status. In short, the government must facilitate the class's ability to seek habeas relief to contest the removal under the Act, that meaning the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. Exactly what such facilitation must entail will be determined in future proceedings, although the court is mindful that such a remedy may implicate sensitive diplomatic or national security concerns with the exclusive provenance of the executive branch. It also has a constitutional duty to provide a remedy that will make good the wrong done. Notably, the order also includes Kilmar Armado Abrego Garcia, the Salvadorian migrant and alleged MS-13 member who was deported from Maryland to El Salvador in March. So we've got, it's really interesting, the law, and I've got an update on him too, by the way, but the lawfare continuing. Even as Trump is president, we have Judge Boasberg, who believes he is more powerful than the man that you elected overwhelmingly to the White House. Liking this reputation that he's getting as being, I guess, a part of the rebellion. Now, it specifically mentions Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Well, a small trove of unsealed court documents in that high-profile deportation case was released yesterday. The handful of filings, which offered few new details, were made public by U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes, while the documents, some of which contained redactions, mostly outlined widely known information. They also provided some background on Senator Chris Van Hollen's heavily criticized trip to El Salvador to advocate for the illegal migrants' release from the country's notorious mega prison and return to the U.S. Documents showed that the El Salvador government contacted the U.S. ambassador to the Central American nation on April 17th to arrange the meeting at the request of the Maryland Democrat. The pair met later that day, with Van Hollen sharing photos on social media. El Salvadorian President Bukele, at the time, quipped that Abrego Garcia, who had been living in the old line state when he was deported, had miraculously risen from the death camps and torture and was sipping margaritas with a lawmaker in the country's tropical paradise. Yes, again, I never quite understood, and I think many of you would disagree, or would agree, never understand why you would hitch your wagon to Mr. Garcia, as we learned that he was allegedly wife abuser, allegedly a member of MS-13, being arrested while driving a car owned by a human trafficker. The list goes on and on. So we can go through his whole list, but a new small trove, mostly stuff that we've already known, was released yesterday. But this goes back in, and how do I tie these two together? But I do. The Democrats hitching their wagon to Mr. Garcia with the reputation that Garcia has. Just as Harvard is standing strong, even the president of Harvard saying, I'll take a 25% pay cut so I can prove my commitment to the anti-Semitic protesters on college campuses. It seems to me both very much on the wrong side of history, but both strong stances they have taken. A couple other things that all somehow seem to intertwine, some involving college campuses, not a ton, because we do have a lot of New York State issues I want to get to. But a couple of updates from yesterday's broadcast as well, and earlier in the week's broadcasts as well. So stay with us. Show's going quickly this morning. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre. Nope, just the facts.
Our picturesque view of historic Market Street, nestled in the heart of the Gaffer District. We thank Boss Security for that view. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson's studio. One thing we are going to get to later on, and you're probably wondering why I missed it, because we've had so much breaking news and tried to twist them into other stories. But yes, the president did order yesterday an investigation into Joe Biden, claiming that the aides surrounding Biden, that cabal, covered up his cognitive decline. We'll talk about that in just a moment. First, the deportation of the family of Boulder terror suspect Mohammed Solomon has been blocked. So the deportation of his wife and 5 children have been blocked by a Biden-appointed judge. Yes, a theme this morning is whether it's with Bowman or whoever, or Boasberg, excuse me, or whatever the judge, that there is obviously this judicial activism, this kind of lawfare still continuing to be used against Trump because these judges believe that they are more powerful than the man that you elected as president of the United States. But the family of Colorado terror suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon won't be tossed from the United States for now after a Biden-appointed judge slammed the brakes on the Trump administration's attempt to quickly deport them. Solomon's wife, their daughters, were facing a swift removal. They were detained. That's before U.S. District Court Judge Gordon Gallagher stepped in. Gallagher said in his ruling, defendants shall not remove in all caps, Hayam El-Gamal and her 5 children from the United States unless and until the Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit vacates this order. Man, I guess we're to the point when you think your vote, I'm not, always vote. I'm just saying, if you look at the optics of this, voting for a president doesn't matter. It's, at the end of the day, the judges that have all the power. And it can be any, at this point, seems like random judge at any level that can stop the president from doing his job. The family first arrived in the United States from Kuwait in August of 2022, but were only allowed to stay until February of 2023. Solomon, a 45-year-old Egyptian national, filed for asylum a month after arriving and listed his wife and their 5 children as dependents in Denver. He was also granted a work authorization in March 2023 that expired this March. His asylum case was still pending. So a judge stopping the deportation of terror suspect Mohammed Solomon's family. Now, after, and we've been talking about that horrific attack by Solomon, an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor who was burned in the attack in Boulder, Colorado, shared a message for the rest of Americans saying, "We are better than this," before asking, and we'll say, I hate to change what she said, but it is early. Kids are getting ready for school. What the heck is going on in our country? Barbara Steinmetz, a Holocaust survivor and the eldest of the 12 victims wounded in Sunday's Boulder terror attack, told NBC News that she and other members of the group Run for Their Lives were peacefully advocating for the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas when they were suddenly firebombed. She said, quote, "We're Americans. We are better than this." She's 88 years old. Asked if she had a message for the rest of the country, "That's what I want them to know, that they be kind and decent human beings." She still appeared rattled after being burned in the attack with a makeshift flamethrower. She said that what happened has nothing to do with the Holocaust. It has to do with human beings that want to burn other people. It's about what the heck is going on in our country. Now, also, President Trump, his Department of Homeland Security is ordering a crackdown on foreign nationals who have overstayed their visas, as I mentioned earlier, making them illegal aliens in the United States following a terrorist attack in Boulder that was allegedly committed by a visa overstay illegal alien from Egypt. So yesterday, Kristi Noem announced that the agency would ramp up immigration records reviews to check foreign nationals who have yet to leave the United States despite their expired visas. DHS has long estimated that about half of the 11 to 22 million illegal aliens who reside in the U.S. initially arrived on visas but overstayed. Think of the number that they can't, that the most they can narrow it down to is 11 to 22 million. It's a big, big difference. Annually, hundreds of thousands of foreign nationals overstay their visas. The crackdown comes after Solomon's alleged terrorist attack. Kristi Noem saying in a statement, "There is no room in the United States for the rest of the world's terrorist sympathizers. Anyone who thinks they can come to America and advocate for anti-Semitic violence and terrorism, think again. You are not welcome here. We will find you, deport you, and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law." Now, also when it comes to this anti-Semitism, I have just a couple real quick updates on college campuses. Then we have an update on the case that we brought to you yesterday, where you had the Chinese nationals who had smuggled in, with ties, by the way, to the Communist Party in China, trying to smuggle in that agro-terrorism fungus. Just a couple of quick updates on that, and then local issues, major local issues, as well as statewide issues. Quick review, a quick look at former and disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo and his debate performance, that mayoral debate yesterday, his debate performance, and also what he had to say about his edict of putting COVID-positive patients amongst our most vulnerable in nursing homes. We'll tell you what he had to say yesterday. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Frankly, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Advanced robotic surgery is now available in the Southern Tier. With the Da Vinci Surgical System, experienced local surgeons at UR Medicine St. James and Jones Memorial Hospitals can perform minimally invasive procedures with greater precision.
That means less pain, shorter hospital stays, and a faster recovery so you can get back to life sooner.
Trust the expertise of your local surgeons and the most advanced technology for your surgery.
You no longer need to travel for cutting-edge surgical care.
Visit robotics.urmc.edu for more information.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
It's the 20 cardboard boat regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
Here I am, field trip chaperone.
Before preventing migraine with Qulipta, it was hard keeping plans.
And look at me now.
You'll never truly forget migraine, but Qulipta reduces attacks, making more zero migraine days possible.
Don't take if allergic to Qulipta. Get help right away for serious allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, lip, or tongue swelling, itching, or rash, which may occur when taking Qulipta or days after. Common side effects include nausea, constipation, and sleepiness.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Qulipta.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. So there was a Columbia protester, just giving you an update on college campuses, a Columbia protester, self-proclaimed Jew hater, who was protesting against Israel and even contemplated setting a student on fire, allegedly had a direct link to Hamas's deadly Al-Qassam Brigade's militant group. The student's name, Tarek Bizrak, who is awaiting trial after being indicted on 3 federal hate crimes against Jewish people, was, quote, a member of a chat group that received regular updates from Abu Obaida, the official spokesperson from the brigades, according to allegations in federal documents. The accusation is the first evidence of an agitator receiving information directly from Hamas and taking action during protests on the university campus. But as the Post editorial board said, and I think this is an important message and kind of encapsulates or encompasses everything we've been talking about, Tarek Bizrak was in direct touch with Hamas's spokespeople. It's a fascinating story, but let's be honest. This is the important takeaway. Hamas's cheerleaders at Columbia and across the West don't need chat room instructions to parrot the terrorists' propaganda. Learning chants like From the River to the Sea is practically part of freshman orientation at countless colleges. At Columbia, you can basically major in anti-Israel propaganda, though they call it Middle Eastern Studies. And of course, a host of activist groups on and off campus works to educate in radical worldviews. National Students for Justice in Palestine, Within Our Lifetime, U.S. Palestinian Community Network, the Palestinian Youth Movement, so on and so on. Via outfits like the Tides Foundation, most are funded by wealthy left-wing Westerners like the Soros family and Neville Roy Singman. The House has been investigating these charities for some time now, with 9 nonprofits, including the New York-based People's Forum and Westchester Peace Action Committee Foundation, flagged for special IRS interest. The propaganda has been flowing openly at college campuses for decades, and that's why we continue to highlight that it's not just the students involved in these protests, faculty, staff, administration, supporting it, encouraging it. Heck, Harvard's president even saying that he's going to take a 25% pay cut just to stand strong with the anti-Semitic protesters. That's why these demonstrations began the day after October 7, 2023, the day of that horrific terror attack on Israel. At first, it was simply to cheer on Hamas, even though the terrorists literally broadcast their atrocities, which they proudly filmed with their GoPros, and Israel's response was still weeks off, none of which stopped the protesters from instantly painting Hamas as the victim, nor prevented Western media, largely seeped in the same propaganda we mentioned yesterday, using very often Hamas's propaganda wing, using those numbers and broadcasting it nightly to you, publishing it daily to you. They push Hamas's wartime propaganda as fact. Such are the benefits of a liberal education at a modern elite university. These schools are now reeling from such Trump administration actions as challenging Columbia's accreditation because of its, quote, indifference to anti-Semitism. But those moves only look drastic because they're targeting institutions that got deeply radicalized long ago, and I thought that was an important point. Yes, Trump is targeting Columbia University's accreditation. This coming out yesterday in a press release from the Department of Education. They revealed the department's Office for Civil Rights has notified the Middle States Commission on Higher Education that due to Columbia University's failing to meet the standards for accreditation set by the commission, the department has an obligation to promptly provide a creditor with any noncompliance findings related to member institutions. This is what the press release stated. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights today notified Middle States Commission on Higher Education that its member institution, Columbia University, is in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws and therefore fails to meet the standards for accreditation set by the commission. Pursuant to President Trump's executive order reforming accreditation to strengthen higher education, the department has an obligation to promptly provide accreditors with any noncompliance findings related to the member institution. The Commission's standards for accreditation and requirements of affiliation state that a candidate or accredited institution possesses or demonstrates compliance with all applicable government laws and regulations. In light of OCR's determination, Columbia University no longer appears to meet the Commission's accreditation standards. Linda McMahon stating, after Hamas's October 7, 2023 terror attack on Israel, Columbia's university leadership acted with deliberate indifference towards the harassment of Jewish students on its campus. This is not only immoral, but also unlawful. Accreditors have an enormous public responsibility as gatekeepers of federal student aid. They determine which institutions are eligible for federal student loans and Pell Grants. Sadly, it really comes as no surprise that this anti-Semitism has taken over on college campuses, because nothing was done about it, of course, by any administration until Trump came along. And also, it's been encouraged by the people making a lot of money in the education system. They've been pushing it, the administration, the faculty, the staff, pushing this for a long time, and it's not just on college campuses any longer. NYPD is working feverishly to thwart would-be perps from unleashing terror in the Big Apple following anti-Semitic attacks in Washington and Colorado. That's according to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. Every high-profile attack raises the risks of another, Tisch said. Individuals who are already on the edge, they don't need instructions, they need a spark. And what we are doing at the NYPD is working tirelessly, feverishly to make sure that none of these sparks catch fire. And sadly, where are these sparks coming from? We see the anti-Semitic rhetoric even by some of our elected officials. We're definitely seeing it on college campuses. We're seeing it in the mainstream media on a regular basis. So there is, well, I'm not going to say it's the end of our university updates, because I guess technically that's what happened with those Chinese researchers. That was at a college, but I do have a quick update on that. The Chinese researchers alleged plot to smuggle the crop-killing fungus into the U.S., that agro-terrorism fungus, and I have another update on how this ties in with China and the real serious threat of China to the United States. Also, at the top of the hour, we're going to get to New York State issues and some local issues as well. Like I said, former disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo was a participant in the mayoral debate yesterday. The other candidates focused on him. He made a statement about his response to COVID. We'll talk about that. We'll give you a look at about 3 or 4 different outlets and their 5 takeaways. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know we can't vote for the mayoral race, but you can't take it lightly, folks, because Cuomo has bigger ambitions. It's not just to be mayor. It's to reestablish himself, perhaps for another governor run, but some are suggesting in his inner circle or people with knowledge of his thought process, they are concerned, would be the word I would use, but their thought is that he is setting his eyes on 2028. That is the ego and the narcissism of Andrew Cuomo. So don't take it lightly or don't laugh at it, because that has always been his ambition. And he thought he was on the fast track to it during COVID because of the daily press conferences. But don't think for a moment that Andrew Cuomo will settle at mayor if he wins. And I think right now he's on pace to win. But he is thinking about the White House, or at least the governor's mansion, but most likely the White House. So that's why we bring up the mayoral debate and the mayor's race, because it is important to the overall picture. We don't want to lose the forest for the trees. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When I was in law school, my father had to stop working when he developed early Alzheimer's. Social Security disability benefits saved my parents financially. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Now I'm a lawyer who helps people when they need Social Security disability. If you can't work, I'd like to help.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton toll-free 1-800-698-0567.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams and Identifying Elder Abuse, Monday, June 9th at the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and learn fraud watch tips. Come to the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 9th. Learn more. Go to SteubenCountyNY.gov/235.
Hi, this is Till, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Elmira Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Distracted there looking at that view. Welcome back. Our roof cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So we learn more about those Chinese nationals who tried to smuggle in that agro-terrorism fungus. National security authorities and members of Congress are raising alarms over the alleged plot by 2 romantically involved Chinese researchers to smuggle samples of a dangerous crop-killing fungus into the United States. Yongqing Zhan, 33, a Communist Party loyalist and lab researcher at the University of Michigan, who received Chinese government funding for her work, plotted the illicit transportation of the pathogen with her boyfriend, Zhongyang Liu. Liu was caught at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport last July after allegedly attempting to sneak in packages of the fungus into the country. One senior Trump administration official told the New York Post, "This is an attack on the American food supply." Yeah, make no mistake about it. This had the potential of giving China the upper hand in so many different ways. And we brought to you yesterday the story about the Chinese buying up farmland around military bases. Now, the fungus is already present in the U.S., but it was manipulated to become resistant to treatment or to spread more easily. But if it was manipulated to become resistant to treatment or spread more easily, it could have the potential to devastate American farms, one expert said. The U.S. should be testing the fungus samples for any evidence it's been tampered with. There are similar allegations that the virus that caused COVID-19 was enhanced by China's Wuhan Institute as part of the U.S.-funded gain-of-function research of the naturally occurring SARS pathogen. China denies that COVID leaked from the lab, but U.S. intel agencies now say that it appears to be the most likely cause of the pandemic. And I think anybody with common sense knows it is. I mean, you can, if you still want to think it was, what was it, a human eating a bat or something. The CCP will use every tool in its warfare toolbox to cripple the United States and bring us to our knees. A pathogen like this, if successfully introduced into a crop, could inflict significant economic loss for U.S. agricultural producers, said House Intelligence Committee Chair Rick Crawford. Senator Jody Ernst said it appears the FBI may have intercepted a potential bioweapon. We are very fortunate the Trump administration and federal law enforcement stopped this potential bioweapon before it compromised our nation's food supply. This is exactly why I have always said and will continue to say food security is national security. Between this latest bioweapon and China's highly concerning purchase of U.S. farmland around our military bases, we must stay on guard against the threat from communist China in our own backyard. Yes, calling this a potential agro-terrorism weapon. Both Jin and Liu were charged Monday in a federal criminal complaint with conspiracy, smuggling goods in the U.S., false statement, and visa fraud. The bacteria infects wheat, barley, corn, and rice. When it does, it can devastate crops. The key question is if the bacterial strain being brought in has been modified to make it resistant to treatment or to make it more pathogenic. The source added that it could be dangerous if the Chinese manipulated the strain, and the federal investigators should have a genome sequence done on the samples. So a potential attack thwarted, luckily, but still concerning, as a viewer mentioned on yesterday's program. What if this did slip through, or what's the potential for other fungi to slip through? So that is a quick update. Also, let's take a short break. Well, why not? A former analyst with the National Security Agency said that China is positioning equipment in strategic places that could be used to disrupt U.S. commerce after rogue communications devices were found inside the Chinese solar power inverters. Remember I mentioned that probably a month ago on this program that they were finding these rogue devices inside these solar panels, talking about the threat that posed. Rogue communication devices that were not in official product documents were found inside Chinese solar power inverters when they were examined by U.S. experts for possible security issues. The two sources said that the rogue power inverters have undocumented communication channels which could be used to circumvent firewalls remotely, which could have major consequences. These power inverters connect the solar panel to electric grids. Imagine, heaven forbid, an attack on the electric grid. We, especially New York State, going to be so dependent on solar power, and so much of the solar power coming from the panels that are produced and made in China. Rocky Cole, former intelligence analyst at the National Security Agency and co-founder of iVerify, told Fox it's very conceivable that China is using these rogue power inverters to gain access to American infrastructures. It very much fits in the model of China in planting hardware in American critical infrastructure for the purpose of planning cyber attacks against the U.S. in the event of, say, a conflict with Taiwan or something else along those lines. So tie that in with buying up the farmland. It was that bill to stop that, vetoed by that Democrat governor that we mentioned yesterday. Or you tie in with this agro-terrorism fungus being smuggled over here, and it creates a very scary picture. And that's what we've said from day one on this program. You need to take the threat of China seriously. Our politicians in Washington do, but there's so much money involved. China has so many ways of lobbying, have so many politicians in their pocket, that it has been tough throughout the years. But we have to take a break and get ready to wrap up our number one. Stay with us.
Sometimes my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis gets in my way. But thanks to Skyrizi, I'm free to bare my skin. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin. And many people were 100% plaque-free. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Now's the time. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A couple things we'll be discussing in the next hour: the mayoral debate in New York City. We also have, and you may have seen the breaking news yesterday, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Ex-White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre claims she's no longer a Democrat, and she happens to be hawking a new tell-all book about how the White House was, well, it wasn't that the White House, it's really kind of worded strangely, but the broken Biden administration. Now, it's interesting all these people are coming out now after the fact, isn't it? Jake Tapper now realizing they didn't cover Biden's mental decline enough. Or Jake Tapper saying that so many people knew about this and they were quick to talk about it. Now, after the fact, well, most people just think this is her trying to make a dollar, but we'll talk about it. We've got a couple other Democrat updates as well. We can talk about Elon Musk if you want. I know there was a hot topic yesterday and he continued. Sadly, he is being, I think there's something about Elon Musk that I'm not saying he's not smart, but what I'm saying is he thinks he's politically smarter than he is. He wants to be some type of kingmaker or power broker. And I think he's biting off a little bit more than he can chew. When you have Chuck Schumer tweeting out or releasing a statement saying, I agree with Elon Musk, you know that maybe Musk didn't make the right choices and the right decisions. Having said that, I think he likes playing kind of the contrarian. He likes this shock effect. That's not just in politics. That's been really his whole career. So disappointment for many, not a surprise for others. We could talk about that. I see a lot of comments coming in. We'll get to those in the next hour. Also, a lot of breaking local stories as well, which we will talk about at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, mere moments away. Stay with us.
William Mattar has a reputation for being a good guy.
Because I am a good guy.
For being focused on motor vehicle accident cases.
Because I focus on motor vehicle accidents.
For fighting for his clients.
Because I fight for my clients.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
Enjoy a take Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
It's the 2025 Cardboard Boat Regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
Start Adrenaline Rush. Start exploring the paddock. Start a weekend you'll never forget. It's Salen's 6 Hours of the Glen, the ultimate start to summer. Get your tickets and secure your camping spot at theglen.com today.
Play ball!
Your Elmira Pioneers are back.
At historic Dunfield this Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Thursday, it's AG in the infield night. Friday, June 6th, it's free West Division champion t-shirts and Meet the Pioneers. Sunday, June 8th, it's free poster schedule night. Get your tickets.
We welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I am your host, Frank Acom, and let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. Visit them at SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. They bring us the section where we read viewer comments. Mark writes in, ponder this. Doesn't it make sense that their universities are getting funds from Hamas? Probably that Harvard school official that took a 25% pay cut is getting reimbursed by Hamas. Not directly by Hamas, but I understand your point. These organizations that unfortunately are pro-Hamas have a lot of money that they throw around on college campuses. And it's very unsettling, and that's why it's, as the New York Post's piece was so poignant, which is that student got arrested that was in talks with Hamas. They don't need to be that connected because they're learning it on college campuses. Or was that Al-Qaeda? I forget, but that they are learning it on college campuses from the professors. Ken writes in, it would be enlightening to learn about the behind closed door meetings that lead up to judges giving out judgments that stop or hinder the Trump administration's directives. These obscure judges didn't decide out of the blue to do what they are doing. They were coerced into giving out these judgments in some way by either promises or threats from the radical left. I would agree, Ken. There's a lot of people that are pushing them behind closed doors. There are a lot of people that are putting the pressure on them to become the activists, and they love it. That Boasberg, he loves the attention he's getting, the praise he's getting from the resistance. All right. And then we read another comment. Sorry, I got a little distracted there by some noise in the background. Good morning. Well, hey, good morning. I am compelled to state the obvious regarding Cuomo. The murderer has no excuse for putting COVID-infected patients into nursing homes, especially given that he knew how infectious it was and is. Plus, he also knew he had an empty ship where he could have put them instead. Yeah, but he didn't want the optics of that because Trump had provided that ship. You raised a very good point there. If the people of New York City vote him in as mayor, there is definitely something wrong with them. And don't forget his other crimes against women. Yes, which, by the way, fighting those cases against harassment, fighting them cost New York taxpayers $70 million. $70 million for you and I. All right. Oh, we got some waves coming in. But thank you for those comments. And again, thank you to Steuben Senior Services Fund for bringing us our comments for viewers section. But we're going to tell you what Cuomo had to say about the nursing home deaths a little bit later on during his debate. But you do raise a great point. I sadly think that this will indeed, the New York City will indeed vote Cuomo in. You know what? I'm going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Then we're going to read some more comments, and then we got to get to some local breaking news. But let's start off early because I've got to take care of something here. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Slow down.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre. Nope, just the facts.
Macy's Friends and Family Sale. That means insider deals on summer styles from your favorite brands, plus 15% off beauty and fragrance too. It's the perfect time to shop for summer. So hurry in. Macy's Friends and Family is going on now.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Yesterday, the story broke, receiving the press release from Sheriff Jim Allard. The investigators of the Steuben County Sheriff's Office has arrested Jennifer Mullen. Jennifer Mullen is the town of Corning supervisor. She's also currently a candidate for Steuben County Legislature in Corning, Caton, and Hornby. It is alleged that Ms. Mullen offered a false instrument for filing to the New York State Department of Labor and received benefits in excess of $1,000 that she was not eligible to receive. Ms. Mullen is charged with offering a false instrument for filing in the first degree, a Class E felony, falsifying business records in the first degree, a Class E felony, and grand larceny in the fourth degree, a Class E felony. Ms. Mullen was released with an appearance ticket to appear in the town of Corning Court at a later date. Now, just to clarify, she will, of course, still be on the ballot in June in that primary, June 24th. But that was a breaking story, and of course, she will have her day in court, but one that we could not overlook because of the relevance to this program and how many interviews we've done for Steuben County Legislature. But on a more on a positive note, I should say, our good friend John Buckley, the mayor of Hornell, has been appointed as co-chair of NYCOM's Employee Relations and Public Safety Policy Committee. So congratulations to Mayor John Buckley. By the way, NYCOM is New York State Conference of Mayors. He has been on the committee since 2020. He said, the executive director said, Mayor Buckley's appointment as co-chair builds upon his long-standing involvement with this committee. His leadership and experience will be a valuable asset as NYCOM continues to advocate for the tools and flexibility necessary to support cities and villages throughout New York State. The mayor releasing a statement saying, I'm honored to be appointed as co-chair of the Employee Relations and Public Safety Policy Committee. This committee plays a vital role in shaping policy that directly impacts our municipal workforce and the safety of our communities. I look forward to working alongside my colleagues from across the state to advocate for legislation that strengthens our cities and villages and supports the dedicated public servants who keep them running. Also, I don't know if you can say this is local, but kind of, because if you recall, Kyle Petty's charity ride came through our area. That was a fun time. We interviewed Kyle Petty on the show, had just a great time with him. Got to meet so many people, so many fans of Frankly Speaking as we attended the event at the Radisson. It was just a lot of fun. Well, we found out the final numbers that will be going to Victory Junction. And how much they raised is what I'm trying to say. The Kyle Petty charity ride across America today announced it raised over $1.4 million after completing its 29th anniversary ride. Those funds, I should say, go directly to Victory Junction, a camp serving children with chronic medical illnesses. The ride's donation supports summer camps, building projects, and maintenance programs. They stopped right here. They did a lap around Watkins Glen, of course. They were on their motorcycles. They stopped at the Radisson. Just a huge turnout there. And I know they signed autographs for people, took pictures. We had the pleasure of interviewing Herschel Walker while he was there, meeting Herschel Walker, real nice guy. So congratulations to Kyle Petty on his successful charity ride across America, again raising $1.4 million. The event took place from May 3rd to the 9th, and I know they're already preparing for next year. We thank Kyle Petty for being on the program, as well as Herschel Walker giving us the interview at the event. So I wanted to pass that information along to you. Okay, let's go to the state level. Feel free to weigh in on any of these. We're going to talk about the mayoral debate yesterday. But first, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano released a statement yesterday. Last week, we had a lot of fun with this on the program, but it's concerning nonetheless, because you never know what's going to happen in Albany. But where you had two Democrat representatives, one from Brooklyn and one from Manhattan, that proposed a bill that would make farmers cap how many cows they can have on their farm at 700, so that New York would no longer give permits for anybody to have more than 700, because you have to have a special permit for 700 and over, no longer allow those permits. So, of course, when we think of farming in rural New York State, we think of representatives from Manhattan and Brooklyn. We had a statement last week from Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. Phil Palmisano reacted to it, and the Republican, a group of Republicans, released a statement condemning the bill yesterday. Palmisano and his colleagues argue this will cause more dairy farms to close down, hurt the economy, and contribute to New York's nation-leading out-migration. Of course it will. It will destroy family farms as well. As many have pointed out, 700 is still to a level of family farms. But the whole bill was proposed for what? The environment. It was proposed because they believe cow flatulence is causing a problem with global warming, and so they're willing to destroy our farms here in New York State. Not to mention, let's really look at it. These farms that have struggled for years, Albany already decides that they're going to ban fracking, which would have brought a boon to many of these farmers. Not all, but they've done everything they can and shown time and time again that they're not only anti-business, they're anti-farming. So Assemblyman Phil Palmisano said this is just another example of downstate one-party rule imposing over-regulations on upstate communities, and is as if the devastating Farm Labor Act wasn't enough. The fact that the bill was proposed by two members from districts in New York City that do not contain dairy farms and have no real-world experience or knowledge of farming shows the Assembly Democrats' arrogance and how completely out of touch they are. I would agree with Phil. I'll continue with what he had to say in a second. They just think that milk, I guess, magically appears at these bodegas and shops. It's the arrogance. I love that term that he used. But I'll continue. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano saying they unfortunately think they know what upstate needs more than the actual upstaters. This will do nothing but cause more dairy farms to leave the state, many of which are family-owned and operated farms, resulting in a devastating blow to our agricultural and overall economy. I think sometimes my downstate colleagues forget where their food comes from. They need to remember that if there are no farms, then there is no food. Our Assembly Republican Conference will continue to stand with our farmers and fight to make sure more of their critically important and vital and stand with our farmers and fight to make sure more of their critically important and vital industries isn't damaged any further by these reckless and out-of-touch policies. So thank you to the Assemblyman for passing that along. Also, as an update, early in the week, I brought to you the story where politicians in Albany want to ban non-stick cookware in New York. So as New Yorkers, writes the New York Post editorial board, as New Yorkers worry about crime and sky-high living costs, taxes, the mass exodus, attacks on businesses like we see there with farms, Albany is moving to stop a different threat, supposedly poisonous pans. State Senator Brad Holman Siegel, and I don't know what he plans on running for, He is very vocal. We quote him quite often, quoting him for the wrong reasons, but in his mind, the right reasons, I suppose. So I don't know what his future prospects are, but that he's aggressive enough that there's something there, but I'll continue. His bill to end the sale of nonstick cookware has cleared the Senate and is zooming to an assembly vote. Because the progressives who dominate the legislature just love banning things, especially on trendy, though pseudo-scientific health grounds. Yeah, keep this in mind. By the way, remember, this is from the same party that all of a sudden was very much for petroleum-based food dyes when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out against those food dyes. So it's a little bit interesting to watch the reaction to nonstick cookware. Now, what does this mean? Well, and remember, this is moving forward. So keep this in mind when we laugh and mock and ridicule those two downstate New York City Democrats who are pushing to ban cows, over 700 cows, from farms, because we can laugh at it. And there was a time when Albany wasn't just one party rule, where he'd say, well, luckily that's never going to go through. Now you can't say that with certainty. You can't bet against that going through. Or if you do, it wouldn't be a smart bet, because you just never know. Same with this. So now what will you do? Have to go to, I guess, Pennsylvania? Have to go out of state if you want non-stick cookware? Again, there's been no studies to show that there's any danger in non-stick cookware, and the same material used for them are used in such things as we learned yesterday, pacemakers and the like. But internet buzz about forever chemicals in these pans has it that this chemical causes cancer, though the FDA has long maintained the pans are perfectly safe. The same coating is found in commonly used electronics and even pacemakers. Of course, this follows Governor Hochul's plan to ban gas stoves and any gas hookups for new homes. For all their talk of keeping government out of the bedroom, Democrats sure seem eager to mess with your kitchen. And I thought that was a very good point. Also, at a time when apparently non-stick cookware is very, very dangerous, but it's okay to have petroleum-based dyes in your food. It's actually encouraged by many Democrats, because as I had reported at the time, when RFK Jr. came out against that, it was very interesting to see the media say, well, no studies have ever been shown that this is going to hurt anybody. Oh, and by the way, it's going to increase costs to consumers if they get rid of these food dyes. So now the left supporting food dyes, but they very much want to get into your kitchen and look into your kitchen and make sure that you're not using non-stick cookware. These are the kind of radical proposals that do absolutely nothing to better New York State at a time when people are so worried about public safety and if they can even afford to live in the state. And Albany wanting, because again, I think this guy has something he wants to run for in the future. I don't know what it is, but wanting to make a name for himself by what? Restricting what you can own in your kitchen, by these government overreaches, by the heavy-handedness of Albany. It is very frustrating. And you might say, well, Frank, this is kind of in the scheme of things, it's not a huge deal. That's the whole point. Death by a million paper cuts, right? Especially in New York State. Will the farm ban happen, the cow ban happen next? It's fair to ask that question. How many times have we said, I think if you look at it just in general, if you look at the constant threats on your liberty, the constant, just little by little taking away, look, gas stoves, like they said. You add these things all together, how many people, just since I've had this program on TV, what, 2.5 years, how many people have texted in and said they're leaving? They have left? Or, as the polling shows, people making their 5-year plan that no, they can't move today, but they're making a plan that in 5 years they want to be out of New York State. And you might say, well, it's nonstick cookware. It just adds to a larger picture where people finally throw their hands up and say enough. Now, yesterday was the mayoral debate. We only mentioned this, and we're going to mention it very quickly, but our former and disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo was in that debate. He was kind of the focus of all the other debaters because he is the front runner. But the takeaways really were, and the reason why we mention it in depth here in just a moment is because he does not want to stop here. It's not just that he's going to be happy with mayor and move along. People in his inner circle saying that he has kind of these delusions of grandeur, and this is his ego. I think both parties would say this, even when he was in office. His ego says that he could still be president someday. But during the 2-hour debate, and he always was good at this even when he ran for governor, he'd have a debate, and it would be with every candidate. Remember, you'd have the kind of wackier candidates on these parties you've never heard of, and they get as much speaking time, and it would take away from Cuomo, having the opportunity to make any mistakes. But the 2-hour debate descended into chaos on more than one occasion as the candidates shouted at one another. It even got annoying to the viewers. Moderators had to interrupt. This was held yesterday evening, and this coming from the New York Times. Cuomo and Trump were the common enemies. Everybody kind of piled on Cuomo and Trump. Now, the federal investigation examining whether Cuomo lied to Congress about nursing home deaths during the pandemic. Cuomo said it was politically motivated. The sexual harassment allegations by 11 women, unfounded, Mr. Cuomo said, though he did acknowledge his apology to the woman in 2021. And remember, that has cost New York taxpayers $70 million so Cuomo could fight the sexual harassment claims made against him. The prominent donors who have given generously to a super PAC supporting Mr. Cuomo, including DoorDash, Mr. Cuomo insisted he would not be influenced by the donations. Even as Scott Stringer, a former city comptroller, said that there were examples of buying the mayor. I don't care who gave me what, Cuomo said. President Trump's name was mentioned more than 80 times in a mayor's race in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, who is very far left, he is one of the candidates. He said, I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. Now, Cuomo and Mamdani, who are the frontrunners, Cuomo the clear frontrunner, but Mamdani second. He is a Democrat socialist, a avowed Democrat socialist, fought the most over corruption and experience. Cuomo even at one point saying that Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. I'm not sure what that means. Blake and Adams seized their moments in the spotlight, taking advantage of what time they had. That's the problem with having so many candidates on the debate stage. Now, they all united on protecting immigrants. And a series of rapid-fire questions, according to the New York Times, yielded revealing answers. Asked by the moderators who was the most effective Democrat in the nation, Mr. Cuomo, Ms. Adams, and Mr. Stringer named Hakeem Jeffries, which I find kind of surprising. There was some criticism of Hakeem Jeffries after Trump got elected because he didn't seem to be effective enough to the Democrats that wanted the resistance. Doesn't seem like, to me, he's done great with the optics of the Democrat Party, whether before Donald Trump won or now, currently. But he has been using some tough rhetoric lately, so maybe that's enough to persuade some people. But Cuomo believing Hakeem Jeffries is the most effective Democrat in the nation. Mr. Mamdani and Mr. Launder and Michelle Wu said Mr. Blake named himself. Okay. I see. Mr. Mamdani and Mr. Lander said Michelle Wu. I worry that strangely. The progressive mayor of Boston. Interesting. Mr. Blake named himself. Whitney Tilson, a former hedge fund executive, named Cory Booker. Ooh, because of that 25-hour and 5-minute speech that accomplished absolutely nothing other than to break a record. Kind of the Democrat Party in a nutshell. Talking a lot, not accomplishing anything. So Cory Booker. And finally, Zelnor Miri. Yes, these people are all running for mayor. Named Andrea Stewart Cousins, the New York Senate Majority Leader. All right. Oh, Miss Ramos picked Wes Moore, the Maryland governor. Now, a lot of people are thinking that Wes Moore is setting up a run for president in 2028. Notably, none of them, even the left-leaning candidate, who a lot of them have been vying for AOC's endorsement, it's notable that none of them mentioned AOC. Isn't it? Kind of interesting to me anyway. We'll give you a couple other quick takeaways from what happened there, and I just want to mention what Cuomo said about the COVID nursing home deaths. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and let's go to our Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the show, where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Comment from the first viewer. I think Zelensky doesn't want the war to end. Why would Ukraine's largest attacks against Russia come only after Trump not tried to negotiate peace? And I know that when Trump spoke to Putin, he, well, it didn't seem like it was necessarily good news, saying not a conversation that would lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. So thank you for that comment. A comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I've decided that it's probably easier to pick the winner of the Belmont Stakes in Saratoga on Saturday than it is to guess what the Democrats will try to do next. Number 6, Baez for the win. If I win, I'm going out of state to buy some new frying pans. That's a good investment on your money, as it looks as if they will soon, nonstick cookware will soon be banned by Albany. So I think that's a wise investment, an investment that could yield earnings as well if you buy enough when they start to realize how much they miss their non-stick cookware. And I see that Baez is going out 4-1 as of this morning. It is a small field, 8-horse field. So thank you for that. And we're putting you down. We're keeping that in the records. You're on record as picking Baez. Thank you very much. Good luck to everyone. You can continue to make your predictions on tomorrow's program as well. So the biggest takeaways, again, from the mayoral debate, just quickly, it was everybody versus Cuomo seems to be the common theme. Also, everybody was fighting Trump. Michael Blake, doesn't really have much when it comes to polling numbers, but he did get aggressive, saying, I just want to internalize that Andrew Cuomo just said, I don't care who gave me what. That's not a man who's actually going to break the corruption in City Hall. That was his big takeaway line. Now, moderators did push Cuomo on the nursing homes and women. Cuomo said a report was done 4 years ago making certain allegations. I said at the time that it was political and it was false. 5 district attorneys looked at it, found absolutely nothing. 1 case has been resolved. I was dropped from that case. I said at the time if I offended anyone, it was unintentional, but I apologized, and I say that today. So that arguably my big takeaway from the debate, that when addressing the COVID nursing home scandal, the deaths in the nursing homes, it got heated, where Cuomo even raised his voice, which, the old Shakespeare line, one doth protest too much. That's very much what we see from Cuomo. Listen, when he was in front of that hearing in Congress where Elise Stefanik said in no uncertain terms, you should never be able to hold elected office again, such a powerful line, because he has not only misled about his role in this scandal of putting COVID positive patients in nursing homes. He's misled. He has never been apologetic to the families who lost their loved ones either. His arrogance on this has only really caused more trouble for him, unfortunately, and much like the viewer predicted Baez to win the Belmont, I am predicting, and I don't normally make predictions on this program, that if it looks like right now, Cuomo will be the mayor of New York City. Now, having said that, a lot can change. And having said that as well, we had that great line last week, which is, it's not that Cuomo's strong, it's just all the other candidates are weak. Because the person in second to him, that Madam, I think I pronounced it a different way each time. He is Mamadani. There we go. He is very weak on his stance when it comes to the anti-Semitic protests, and his language is not what you would call pro-Israel. It's been very questionable. Some of the chants that he's made, it even came up during the debate. One of the last questions was the perceived weakness of Mamadani, that he is unable to say, and this happened again last night, he is unable to say that Israel should be a Jewish homeland, that essentially Israel has a right to exist. That is a tough position to take. He is a Democrat socialist, so this very much echoes what has been said in the past by the Squad and groups like that. But in a city like New York City with a heavy Jewish population, that is a very controversial stance to take, but again, fitting right in line with the kind of Democrat socialist platform. But I keep beating around the bush here about what we want to actually talk about, which is what Cuomo said about the nursing home deaths. He stood at center stage. When asked, he said, "No, we didn't undercount any deaths." He loudly insisted during a very heated moment, which that's wrong. I mean, you can say it's either lie or that he is just completely ignorant of what happened, but we know that those numbers were changed because he saw the scandal that this could become and ultimately did become. So he tried to downplay the deaths in nursing homes. "No, we didn't undercount any deaths," he declared. The harshest attack arguably came from Reverend Michael Blake, a former Obama administration official, who scathingly evoked the sexual harassment accusations that led to the former governor's resignation. "The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo," said Blake. That's a very good line. Let's read that again. "The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety in New York City," he said. Now that may be a little, I don't know. Cuomo, who has vehemently denied the accusations, declined to respond, which is uncharacteristic of him. That's not something you normally see from Cuomo. Blake then seized the opportunity to send a message to women watching the live debate. Everyone, women watching tonight, he was just given a chance to acknowledge the clear claims, and he ignored it. That is very telling. Now, Cuomo didn't stay silent when it came to the nursing home deaths. and the fact that they were undercounted. And also, he refused to say if he edited his administration's controversial report on the deaths. That's the linchpin of the investigation into his time as governor by the Department of Justice. Cuomo said there was no doubt that my administration produced a report, and it did not undercount the deaths. He said COVID deaths were counted where they occurred, in hospitals or nursing homes. But many of the 15,000 nursing home residents or patients died after they were gravely ill and transported to a hospital. So that's how they fabricated. We talked about it at the time. Many people were talking about it at the time, that the 15,000 number, what they would do is, as that person was gravely about to die in a nursing home, they'd be moved to a hospital for, hopefully, to do something. And of course, when they passed away, that number was put under the hospital mark. A damning 2021 report by State Attorney General Letitia James found that New York's nursing home death toll from COVID-19 may be more than 50% higher than Cuomo's administration initially reported. An audit in 2022 by State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli also concluded the state health department intentionally misled the public about the number of nursing home deaths from COVID-19 to help burnish Cuomo's reputation. Because at that time, he was a huge star. He was giving those press conferences. Many people thought he would be a shoo-in at the time for president. Even at that exact time, people suggesting that Biden step out of the campaign and that Cuomo step in. So when he was called on that, Cuomo claimed it's very, very clear that that's the Trump line, the MAGA line. So if you push back on him with the COVID deaths, it's the MAGA line. So everybody's out to get the former governor, Cuomo. No, I told Congress the truth, he said. Now, Brad Lander accused Cuomo of lying to Congress and grieving nursing home families. He did lie to grieving nursing home families. And I will also mention he has never been apologetic over it. Look at his answer last night. So there is enough about the debate. Now, the quote-unquote political experts are saying all the attacks on Cuomo aren't working or are not so far. So, again, Cuomo ducking and dodging last night and those attacks, even sometimes not commenting. What you may say is kind of a prevent defense, as he looks like the shoo-in for mayor. But we got to take a short break. We'll read some of your comments. I've got a quick takeaway from Governor Hochul's interview with Axios yesterday that I just want to mention. Then Karine Jean-Pierre, the former White House press secretary, says she's no longer a Democrat, and she just happens to also be releasing a new tell-all book about the broken Biden administration. It's interesting to say it was broken if you worked for it till the end, even having that going away party, not taking questions that last day. Remember that? Anyway, we need to take a short break. Stay with us. We're running just a tad bit late. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
I'm Mary Offord. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Migraine strikes. Do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on Ubrelvy.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corning, putting together all of our viewer comments for the Steuben Senior Services section of our program, where we read viewer comments. Thank you to Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. First comment, good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Nice sun emoji. The thoughts of Cuomo becoming mayor of New York City is an extremely painful pill to swallow. And yet I fear that you are right, and somehow he will pull it off. Is there any wonder we keep slipping further down in the rabbit hole? It's disgusting to me. And the reason we mention it, and I agree with you, the reason we mention it is because he does have some type of delusion of grandeur where he wants to move on from mayor as well. But it is a painful pill to swallow, because we all witnessed at the time, we saw at the time the devastation that his nursing home edict created. Unfortunately, there's probably many in this audience that had it affect them directly, because it was our area, Steuben County and the surrounding areas, that first brought this to the media's attention. I remember reading it in the New York Post, that he had made that decision. Keep in mind, at the time, Trump was doing everything he could. That ship sat empty, where that could have been used as a makeshift hospital. There were so many examples. And you know, we talk about the nursing home decision, but remember, Cuomo also at the time threatened to take away respirators from upstate New York to use downstate. He let his family jump ahead in the line to get those, at the time, scarce tests, COVID tests. He was able to travel when others couldn't. His brother was very kind of infamous for that too, breaking COVID rules while he had COVID. But in my opinion, I would say the worst decision made in all of COVID, one of the worst decisions ever made by an elected official, which was putting COVID positive patients with our most vulnerable. Comment from a different viewer, Frank. Cuomo not accepting or acknowledging blame for his misdeeds isn't a surprise. He is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. He has no allegiance to anyone but himself. I agree with you. The New York City sheeple will elect him in a landslide. Most of them have forgotten about the scandals and will elect him on his name only. Yeah, because people don't realize, for instance, that we paid $60 million, or closer to $70 million, in taxpayer money to help defend him against the sexual harassment claims. A lot of people, sadly, are ill-informed, because the media has not done a good job of covering it, of his decision regarding nursing homes. So I would agree with you. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. It's hard to believe that some people would rather be lied to and would like to elect somebody that has a proven past like Cuomo has. He is the ham sandwich for the Democrats. Once again, it doesn't matter what the truth is, as long as they stay in power. And if anybody doesn't see New York City for what it is and what it has become because of the choices that they've made, then they don't live in the real world. Well, thank you very much. We've got some other comments coming in. We'll get to those in our next segment. Yes, the ex-White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, claims she's no longer a Democrat, and then teased a memoir on the broken Biden administration. This is probably a way for her to cover her history in this, her covering up the scandal, just like Jake Tapper wrote that book to cover up the media's role in the scandal, arguably the biggest scandal in presidential history, the one that we mentioned earlier, that Trump has ordered an investigation into the increasingly apparent cover-up of Biden's mental decline. So Jean-Pierre didn't come to her decision to be an independent lightly, said the push for her new book. She has served two American presidents, Obama and Biden. She takes us through the 3 weeks that led to Biden's abandoning his bid for a second term and the betrayal by the Democrat Party that led to his decision. So she's going to try to put it not on Biden as much, it sounds like, as the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers of the world. In a hard-hitting yet hopeful critique, Jean-Pierre defines what it means to be part of the growing percentage of our fractured electorate that is independent, why it can be worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs and a party affiliation, and what questions you need to ask yourself to determine where you fit politically. Now, many viewed her time as White House press secretary as ineloquent, often unprepared. She had a notebook, if you recall. I could only imagine if Carolyn Leavitt came out with a big notebook and read from that every time she was asked a question. The criticism, you can only imagine. They would still have no problem criticizing her today if she did it, even though Jean-Pierre did it for 4 years. Many of her former colleagues critical, expressing disbelief, calling this just a money grab. One White House reporter sarcastically called the project amazing. Did she find the manuscript somewhere in that fat binder she toted around? If I were a historian writing about the Biden White House, I wouldn't ignore what Karine has to say. But it's not an account in which much weight will be invested, just like her briefings. Yes, historically a very, very bad press secretary. Just not prepared, not eloquent with her answers. So yes, maybe she found the transcript in that fat binder. That's funny. A second White House reporter said that they wouldn't have even realized Jean-Pierre was in the news if Fox News didn't ask them about it. She left the Democrat Party. I honestly didn't see that story and probably wouldn't have even noticed. I turned off my KJP Google alert on Inauguration Day. Has anyone circled back with Jen Psaki? Because that was her line very often in the press conferences, if you remember. Circle back. Has anyone circled back? We'll circle back for you. I have to pick my jaw up from the floor, said one reporter. It's unbelievable that she, of all people, would choose this path. Just take a look at her entire career and identity. You can't change who you are just because you check a different inbox on a registration form. It also disappointing to see that she would turn her back on her party just because it's hit a really rough patch. It speaks to her character. Ooh, that sounds like a reporter that's not hiding their Democrat beliefs. Remember, she didn't even get a gig at MSNBC or someplace like that. So she's just trying to stay relevant with this tell-all. One reporter saying, I don't really know what she was going to do because she did such a bad job as press secretary, and that's both in front of the cameras and behind the scenes. Many reporters felt like KJP didn't meet the mark. If you talk to people who covered both administrations back-to-back, Carolyn Leavitt is such whiplash because she understands how to build a relationship with reporters across the spectrum, and she's a star on camera. Now, if you recall, Jean-Pierre at the time routinely dismissed questions about Biden's fitness as White House press secretary as early as 2022. I think she'll probably go to friendly media, and that will be a big difference because I don't think the buzz will be there. There is a historic record literally on camera of her, saying all these things she did that turned out not to be true. Many people just looking at it, as I said, a big money grab. Colleagues are furious, denouncing her as a grifter. The attention-grabbing ploy lit up Democrat and Biden alumni texting groups and reignited frustrations that burned for years about Jean-Pierre, according to 7 former Biden administration officials, this coming from Politico. One former official recalled that Jean-Pierre had joked about becoming an independent even while on the job in the Biden White House, an off-key comment for someone ostensibly serving as a major messenger for the Democrat Party and doing a poor job of it. Another former official said that Jean-Pierre had begun working during the Biden administration with a New York-based publicist and had copied that person on official emails before some of Jean-Pierre's White House colleagues intervened. Everyone thinks this is a grift. She made jokes about being an independent, and now it's a book. All ideas are monetary, even the dumb ones. All right, let's take a short break. Getting ready to wrap up today's edition. We've got one more segment after this, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2025 Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder.
First you hear it, then you feel it. That's the crunchy, melt-in-your-mouth feeling of Ritz Toasted Cheese.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We're back. And this is our Stu Ben Senior Services Fund section of the program because we're reading viewer comments. Mark writes in, Cuomo is a hypocritical liar and avoided answering questions is his way of hiding what he has done wrong. Thank you, Mark. Comment from Rick. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Old Pete the Leaker blew off a critical meeting with another NATO supporter of Ukraine. The meeting was to discuss how to best support Ukraine's war effort against Russia. Pete has been real busy lately running contests to rename battleships. So that's why he couldn't make the meeting. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, Rick. I hope you don't mind. The winner who picks the name maybe gets a ride on Trump's new airplane. Nice. The steel and aluminum tariffs are in play. Now the waiting game is on to see who hits back at Trump with more tariffs. Maybe this is another taco tariff. Let's hide and watch. Musk, in his recent comments that we talked about yesterday and today about killing the bill, I guess we all know where the key to the White House ended up the other day. Yikes. Elon is a renegade, a billionaire. NIH ending 1,389 grants and delayed funding to over 1,000 more. This is all funding for crucial research for Alzheimer's, cancer, Parkinson's, and on and on. My question is, why would anyone stop this research? A fool, I would suppose. And Frank, I know you said you wouldn't report numbers of casualties in Gaza, not the ones that are released by essentially Hamas's propaganda wing. No, but I'll continue with what Rick said. So no numbers here. I saw some very telling video and data that talked about the type of weapons and ammunition used in these atrocities. This is real. This is wrong. This needs to end. Makes me sick. Have a good one. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for writing in. Comment from a different viewer. Just two things. I don't believe Binder. Yes, that was a nickname that many had given KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre. Or is it Indy now? Yeah, independent. She's an independent. I don't believe she has seen the light and changed her spots. And number two, I will not be wasting my money on her book. Fair enough. But by the way, this is very troubling as we've been talking about the rhetoric lately, and we had that amazing piece about kind of the normalization of left-wing violence. Hakeem Jeffries has threatened to expose the identities of ICE agents, saying during a press conference, every single ICE agent who is engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified. This is in fact the law. And we're going to make sure that the American people have the transparency necessary to hold people accountable when they're folks who cross the line here in America. That's what's going to happen. So identify ICE agents. It'd be nice if they put some effort into identifying the anti-Semitic protesters on college campuses threatening Jewish students. But they can't because it's too dark or they're wearing masks. Okay, how are we doing? I've got to take our last break. Get your last second comments in. I didn't realize we're running so late. Just about time to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling.
If you still have symptoms after trying Humira, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill from the makers of Humira that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop joint damage, and in PSA, can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Ask your rheumatologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you.
And take back what's yours.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. The Student Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. This viewer writes in, regarding politically oriented books, I would rather watch paint dry. Fair enough. Oh no, there's a technical issue. Thank you for that. Thank you. Sorry you didn't get your full Frank fix. I like that. I appreciate the comment. Quickly as we breeze through the last stories. Ken writes in, Frank, what a world. Masks to protect protesters is good. Masks to protect law enforcement is bad. Great point, Ken. So as I mentioned, Trump ordered an investigation into the increasingly apparent cover-up of Biden's mental decline and the use of the auto pen, calling it the conspiracy marks one of the most dangerous and concerning scandals in American history. The American public was purposely shielded from discovering who yielded the executive power, all while Biden's signature was deployed across thousands of documents to effect radical policy shifts. Now, Charlemagne, the radio host, spoke to Representative Eric Swalwell. Doesn't Eric Swalwell always look like he's not ready to be there? He always looks a little awkward and off. That one time when Ben Shapiro pushed back on what Swalwell was saying, it was uncomfortable to watch. Swalwell always looking for that one kind of hip thing to look young. Charlemagne asked him, how can Democrats be trusted after they lied to us so long about Biden? So when I hear you talk, I'm like, well, what was the Democrats' excuse when they chose to be accomplices in the cover-up of Biden's physical and mental decline? It's the same thing. You all got on television and pretend to act like everything was fine, knowing behind the scenes he was not. Swalwell said, I don't think many of us were behind the scenes, to be honest. I didn't spend much time with President Biden behind the scenes much. You have two eyes. I got it. Because he was... Charlemagne declared he spent zero time with Biden whatsoever, but nonetheless saw there were issues. Yes, everybody acts as if you didn't see it personally, if you couldn't watch the videos, right? You couldn't see the coverage of it. It had to be with your own two eyes. Well, call him out. And Jake Tapper was ripping the media and their smear campaigns at the time against her. And the Wall Street Journal report on Biden's decline. Remember when the media attacked them? But he did not mention his own network in that scandal. CNN. Interesting. One last thing before we go. Congressman Nick Langworthy's House bill. It's great for us New Yorkers. It would reduce the cost of federally funded construction projects in New York, which, unlike the other 49 states, places absolute liability on property owners and contractors for construction workers' gravity-related injuries. So thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thanks for all the comments and the questions. And we'll be back tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already.